Hey everybody, we're back with another Stubby episode for this week. We took a couple weeks off doing these just because got kind of busy, and we're back doing them again. So hopefully you enjoy them. And this week, Jonathan took a question that we get quite a bit, talking all about amp controls. Enjoy.
Hey, this is Jonathan Lewis. For today's episode, we're going to try to tackle and introduce the question revolving around amperage controls for a TIG torch. We've received a lot of questions throughout the years on what we feel is the best amperage control for certain situations, or what are some of the applications for certain amperage controls. And I thought I would just talk briefly on this Stubby episode about the various options that are out there, or at least few of the options that are out there, and just get our feet wet, and let's take a look at them. Obviously in America, this isn't a hand amperage control, but in America we primarily use foot pedals. And if you have a foot pedal, I would highly recommend that you look into getting a wireless foot pedal if it is made for your machine. And that'd be one of the first things I would look at. That makes life a lot easier when it comes to a foot control. But since we're focusing more on the hand controls, there are many options out there. And I'm not really going to look at the brands, just going to look at some of the options. So there are what we refer to as north-south switches that would be pushed up and down on your TIG torch. There are east-west that would be, obviously right and left on a TIG torch. There's options out there like the CK Worldwide Steady Grip, where you would slide your finger forward north and south. That takes a little bit to get used to, but it works very, very well. There are a lot of other options out there that are referred to as the tractor style, which basically looks like a tractor tank track, and you can slide that back and forth. There are the options like a TIG button that are pressure sensitive, so the more pressure you push on the button, the more amperage or less amperage. If you take less pressure, you get on. And of course, each one of these has a specific application. I want to start with the CK Worldwide Steady Grip because I've got many, many hours of welding with this. I will admit that at first it takes a little bit to get used to. Kind of looks like a pistol grip. This one works good when you're out in the field. Specifically for me, I did a lot of high pressure stainless pipe on a couple projects, and I used that exclusively. I was down inside of pits in the mud, out in the elements, and I didn't have to drag the foot pedal around. And honestly, if you can prop your hand, it works really, really good. So far as your torch hand that you're using, you can slide it back and forward. You get really, really used to it. And so it works very, very good. I've used a tank type in the past. I'm not a fan of that. It seems to really move your TIG torch more than what I prefer. But there are a lot of people that use those even still to this day. And they do, in fact, work. There are also on and off buttons. I guess I didn't mention that at the beginning here, where basically it is literally on and off. So you got your machine set at whatever the amperage is, 100 amps. You push the button, you're going to get 100 amps. Or you can walk through the 4T process as well with some of those. And those have their place as well. If you're going to be doing repetitive parts, maybe you just need to hit the button and turn a program on, and it runs its course and turns itself off. So those would work very good if you're doing a run of 1,000 parts or 10,000 parts. Very, very good option for you to have. The north, south, east, and west come in various different forms. I've seen sliders. I've seen wheels. And again, each one, it works really, really well. The wheel one I like, if I were to choose between the two. It seems to really depend on the brand, depending on what you're looking at. It seems to really work for my application, or at least what I've done in the past. And it doesn't seem to interrupt your TIG torch so far as like the arc, the movement there as much. And again, your mileage will vary. You might not like the wheel one, you might like the slider one, and they're both made. They're made both ways, either one. The one that I really like today is the TIG button. This is a pressure-sensitive one where there's no moving parts to speak of. You push harder on the button, you get more amperage. Of course, depending on what your machine is set at, you push less, it's less. The only drawback to that one that I have seen is it is very sensitive. You touch it with your glove, you can very easily activate it. One of the things that I would say with any of these applications or the types of TIG torch controls, or amp trolls as they're often called, is really look at what you're going to be doing. If you're going to be doing roll cages, many of these hand controls would work very, very well. In fact, they probably would all work very, very well. Or if you don't have one, a wireless foot pedal would work good as well. I'm really hesitant to get into which one would work the best. I know we've been asked that a lot in the past. Which one would work best for my application? The easiest answer really is kind of like driving and picking out a new car. You got to go drive them. You got to test drive them. The only drawback to that is where are you going to drive it at? Where are you going to go find somebody that has the different hand controls that are out there? If you can, reach out to the community, reach out to those that you might follow on Instagram or social media, other platforms, and ask them, hey, if you have this type of control, can I go at least test run it for a little while? Likely you're not going to get manufacturers or companies to give you a hand control to use for a while, but if you could demo one, that'd be great. Use as many as you possibly can. Myself, I probably have too many of them. I've got on and offs, I got north, south, east, west. I've got the button, I've got the steady grip, the tractor type, and I'm probably forgetting some, honestly, and there's probably some out there that you have seen or maybe I haven't. Find one that works best for you. And again, every situation is going to be a little bit different. Some guys I've seen that use wireless foot pedals to build these like monster truck roll cages or race car cages, and they'll put it between their legs and whatever. And some like a TIG button type of a thing, or a north-south, or on and off. Some I've seen that use the on-off buttons that would literally be set on and off. So they got their machines set at, these are made up amperages, but 150 amps, and they'll just manually pulse it back and forth. And that works, but that might not be your cup of tea. So just try as many of them as you possibly can. Some machines out there come with two different setups. Some machines that you see out there, especially the lower end so far as price point, or the entry-level machines, come with a foot pedal and a on-off button. And again, you can run the program 4T through those buttons, and that works very, very well. And of course, you got the foot pedal there as a backup. I just wanted to introduce different kinds of hand controls for a TIG torch that are out there. And, let us know if you have one that you have thought of, or maybe you invented one. I've been approached about some of those as well, and that's quite interesting there. Let us know, because I'd like to learn about different options that are out there and different applications where, different setups are being used as well. And, of course, don't forget to think outside the box. Just because a TIG torch hand control or an amperage control or amp control, depending on what you want to call it, is designed to be used like on the top of the torch or whatever, does not mean you can't use it on the side. And that really opens up a lot of doors. I have seen that in some cases as well, where people have turned the amperage control to a different way, maybe use their thumb, maybe use the, whatever, depending on how you hold your torch. And that works good in many cases. Again, not an all-inclusive, really, really deep study on the different hand controls that are out there, but just something to get the thoughts rolling into your head and to introduce some options that are out there that you may not have heard of.
Well, that's it for this week's Stubby. Hopefully that sparked a little interest in you to explore in different types of amp controls that you can get for your TIG torches. And if you have a question you would like to hear answered on a Stubby episode, be sure to send them to weldingtipsandtrickspodcast@gmail.com, and we will get to it as soon as we can. Have a great week.